There are people in your life right now who are slowly destroying you. And the terrifying part, you don't even see it. Carl Jung spent decades studying the human psyche, and what he discovered about certain personality types should make you uncomfortable. These are not random bad people. They are psychological predators. They wear masks, they manipulate, they drain, and they've perfected the art of appearing normal. Jung identified specific patterns, dangerous archetypes that repeat throughout history and show up in your workplace, your family, even your closest relationships. Wolves in sheep clothing. Today, we're exposing 6 types of people Jung warned us about. People you might be dating, working for, or calling a friend right now. By the end of this video, you'll never look at the people around you the same way again. The shadow projector. Have you ever met someone who constantly accuses others of the exact things they do themselves? The cheater who's obsessively jealous, the liar who trusts no one, the manipulator who sees manipulation everywhere. Jung called this shadow projection, and it's one of the most dangerous psychological mechanisms you'll ever encounter. Here's how it works. We all have a shadow, the parts of ourselves we refuse to acknowledge, the traits we find unacceptable, shameful, or threatening to our self-image. But here's the problem. That shadow doesn't disappear just because we ignore it. It gets projected outward. Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. The shadow projector is someone who has completely refused to integrate their dark side. Instead, they weaponize it. They see their own flaws in everyone around them and attack relentlessly. They gaslight you into believing you're the problem when they are looking in a psychological mirror. They will never take responsibility because they cannot see themselves. The most dangerous part, they genuinely believe they're the victim, but there's someone even more insidious. The persona addict. Jung introduced a concept called the persona, the social mask we wear to navigate the world. It's necessary. We all have one. But some people become so addicted to their mask that they lose all connection to who they actually are. The persona addict is someone whose entire identity is performance. They craft the perfect image, successful, charming, enlightened, while underneath, there's either emptiness or something much darker. You've met this person. They say all the right things. Their social media is immaculate. They speak with confidence about values they don't actually live by. Image over substance. But here's what makes them dangerous. Because they've abandoned their true self, they have no genuine empathy. Their relationships are transactional. Their kindness is strategic. Their vulnerability is calculated. The persona is a complicated system of relations between individual consciousness and society. If this is resonating with people in your life right now, hit like and subscribe to keep exploring the depths of human psychology with me, because what comes next might disturb you even more. Jung warned about another type, someone who takes persona addiction to a terrifying extreme. The inflation victim. Jung described a psychological phenomenon called inflation, when someone becomes possessed by an archetype and loses their individual boundaries. In simpler terms, when the ego expands so dramatically that a person believes they're special, chosen, or above the rules that apply to everyone else. The inflation victim is terrifying because they often appear highly successful, charismatic leaders, gurus, visionaries, people who gather followers and demand devotion. Chosen, but beneath the grandiosity is a fragile ego that cannot tolerate any challenge. They surround themselves with enablers. They interpret criticism as persecution. They believe their perspective is not just right, it's divinely ordained. Jung saw this repeatedly in his clinical practice and in world history. Some of history's greatest monsters believed they were saviors. The inflation victim creates a reality distortion field. If you're close to them, you start doubting your own perceptions. Their certainty feels like truth. Their confidence feels like wisdom. But it's a house of cards built on psychological quicksand. Where love rules, there is no will to power. And where power predominates, love is lacking. And speaking of power, the next type uses it in an even more subtle way. The anima hunter. This one requires some explanation, because it's one of Jung's most profound and misunderstood concepts. The anima is the feminine aspect within every man's psyche. The animus is the masculine aspect within every woman. These are not gender stereotypes. They are psychological realities that shape our deepest attractions and vulnerabilities. The anima hunter is someone who has learned to exploit this mechanism. They intuitively sense what you're unconsciously seeking in a partner, the qualities you've repressed in yourself, and they mirror them back to you. They become your fantasy. Have you ever fallen for someone and felt like they understood you on a soul level? Like they completed you in ways you couldn't explain? That intoxicating feeling can be genuine connection, or it can be manipulation by someone who has learned to hack your psychology. The anima hunter creates intense, addictive relationships that leave you feeling empty and confused when they inevitably shift. They were never showing you themselves. They were showing you a reflection of your own unconscious longings. Jung understood that our deepest vulnerabilities lie in the parts of ourselves we don't know. The anima hunter exploits exactly that. But wait, because what comes next is perhaps the most common type you'll encounter. The energy vampire. You know this feeling. You spend time with someone and leave completely drained. Your energy, your motivation, your joy somehow depleted. It's not your imagination. Jung recognized that psychological energy is real and transferable. Some people unconsciously or consciously feed on the vitality of others. The energy vampire comes in many forms. There's the victim who always has a crisis and needs your emotional labor. The critic who subtly undermines everything you do. The needy friend who takes but never gives. The negativist who drains every room they enter. They don't want solutions. They want your energy. What makes them truly dangerous is that many of them don't know what they're doing. They've developed this pattern because they haven't learned to generate their own psychological energy. They haven't done their inner work, so they feed on yours. The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed, but the transformation isn't always positive. Some reactions are toxic. Protect your energy. After every interaction, ask yourself, do I feel more alive or more depleted? Your answer tells you everything. And now, we arrive at the most dangerous type of all, the possessed one. Jung introduced a concept that sounds almost supernatural but is deeply scientific: possession by a complex. A complex is an emotionally charged cluster of unconscious material, often formed in childhood, that can take over a person's behavior without their awareness. Possessed. The possessed one is someone whose complexes have grown so powerful that their authentic self is barely present. They react to the present through the lens of unresolved past trauma. They're not responding to you. They're responding to their father, their abuser, their abandoning mother. And you become the target of pain that has nothing to do with you. You cannot reason with someone who isn't fully present. This is perhaps the most tragic of all the types because the possessed one is genuinely suffering. Their behavior is destructive, but they often don't understand why. They repeat patterns. They sabotage relationships. They oscillate between idealization and devaluation. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. The most dangerous aspect. They can trigger your own complexes. Around the possessed one, you find yourself acting in ways you don't recognize. Your reactions become as irrational as theirs. It's psychological contagion. But here's the crucial question: recognizing yourself. Here's the uncomfortable truth Jung would want you to understand. You've probably been one of these types at some point in your life. Maybe you're being one right now. The line between victim and perpetrator runs through every human heart. Jung didn't categorize dangerous people to help you judge others. He did it to help you understand yourself. Shadow projection, we all do it. Persona addiction, check your Instagram. Inflation, remember the last time you were absolutely certain you were right. Self-awareness changes everything. The difference between a dangerous person and a conscious one isn't the presence of these patterns, it's awareness. The shadow projector who recognizes their projection can withdraw it. The persona addict who sees the mask can choose authenticity. The possessed one who identifies their complexes can begin integration. Jung's entire therapeutic approach was based on one principle: what you make conscious, you can transform. What remains unconscious controls you. Knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darknesses of other people. So before you start identifying the dangerous people around you, there's essential inner work to do first. The protection protocol. Once you've done your own shadow work, you can protect yourself from those who refuse to do theirs. Jung offered several principles that serve as psychological armor. First, trust your body. Your unconscious perceives danger before your conscious mind does. That knot in your stomach around certain people, that's information. Your body keeps score of what your mind denies. Second, watch patterns, not words. Anyone can perform goodness once. Dangerous people reveal themselves through consistent behavior over time. The shadow projector will always find someone new to blame. The persona addict will always prioritize image over truth. Actions reveal character. Third, maintain psychological boundaries. Jung understood that the unconscious communicates between people. If you spend time with the possessed or the energy vampire, you absorb their psychic material. Limit exposure. You are what you do, not what you say you'll do. Fourth, cultivate relationships with integrated people. Those who have done their shadow work. Those who can admit fault. Those whose persona aligns with their authentic self. You become the average of the 5 psyches you're most exposed to. Choose wisely. But there's one more critical insight. The healing path. What do you do when you realize someone you love fits these patterns? Or when the dangerous person is a family member you can't simply remove from your life? Jung never advocated for abandonment without compassion. He understood that the most dangerous people are often the most wounded. The shadow projector learned to deny their darkness because expressing it was punished in childhood. The persona addict was only loved for performance, never for who they truly were. The possessed one carries trauma they may not even remember. This doesn't excuse their behavior. It doesn't mean you should tolerate abuse, but it does mean that healing for them and for you is possible. Jung's method was integration, not amputation. I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become. If you're in a relationship with a dangerous person, you have 3 options: leave, enable, or become a mirror. A mirror means refusing to absorb their projections while gently reflecting their patterns back to them. You cannot force someone to see themselves, but you can refuse to carry their shadow. It's the hardest path. It requires that you do your own work first, but transformation is possible. Jung saw it happen thousands of times. And now for the final, most important realization. The ultimate warning. Jung's ultimate warning wasn't about other people at all. It was about you. The greatest danger isn't the shadow projector in your office or the energy vampire in your family. It's you, the unlived life, the unexamined psyche, the shadow you refuse to meet. Jung spent his entire career watching people destroy themselves and others because they refused to look within. They projected their demons onto enemies. They inflated into messiahs or deflated into victims. They stayed possessed by complexes they wouldn't name. The unconscious is not going away. It will find expression. If you don't bring your shadow into light, it will appear as your fate. If you don't integrate your complexes, they will integrate you. If you don't develop authentic presence, the persona will hollow you out from within. Your visions will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes. Wake up, look within. The dangerous people Jung warned about are mirrors. They show you what happens when psychological development stops. They are cautionary tales written in human form. Learn from them. But more importantly, don't become one of them. 6 types of dangerous people. 6 patterns that have repeated throughout human history. 6 warnings from one of the greatest minds to ever explore the human psyche. But remember, Jung's purpose was never to create a system for judging others. It was to wake you up to yourself. The people who trigger you most reveal the shadows you haven't integrated. So here's your task. Go back through these 6 types. Ask yourself honestly, which patterns have I displayed? When have I projected my shadow? When has my persona taken over? When have I drained others because I hadn't learned to generate my own energy? Know yourself, transform everything. That honest self-examination, that willingness to see your own darkness, is what separates the conscious from the dangerous. It's the beginning of what Jung called individuation, becoming who you were always meant to be. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. If you made it this far, comment shadow integrated to prove you're ready to do the real work. Welcome to the Psyche Project. If this opened your eyes to the psychology around you, subscribe. There's so much more to explore. See you in the next video.